in today's conversation, we'll be having a Joshua Wilson with us. He is a commercial director JAPAC at Crimton. Welcome to our show, Joshua. How are you doing today?
Very well, thank you. Lovely to be here.
Yeah, same here, same. So, Joshua, I follow a lot of, content on social media and on Facebook, LinkedIn, and everywhere. So, what I have got to know is the Crimton have just gone into a partnership with Plaza Premium Group, and it's a huge partnership thing for you. So, what we thought is let's get on a call and let's discuss, about the Crimton, about this partnership. So our viewership, will get to know more about it. So to start with in today's conversation, I just wanted to understand what Crimton is doing and what the plan is all about. Over to you.
Yeah, no worries. So, Crimtan is a programmatic advertising platform. We started out in 2009, actually founded out of London in the UK. Since then, we've grown in across the globe. So we have offices in US, in Spain, Dubai. I'm actually physically based in Tokyo, but I head up the APAC region, which is Tokyo, Hong Kong, Singapore, and Australia. I used to work out of our Australian office, and I moved out here 4 or 5 years ago to open the Japan office. So that's essentially Crimtan in a nutshell in our history. Specifically, what we do for Plaza Premium, which you just mentioned, is that we are their programmatic partner. So we execute campaigns on behalf of them to help make sure that we are essentially driving new customers, getting those customers to convert, and then growing their lifetime value. So the partnership is really invested in their marketing strategies, but not only the marketing, but also helping them with creative execution, data segmentation, insights and analytics, and that kind of thing.
Yeah. So, just get more deeper into this. So, what were the key factors behind the outstanding success achieved through the Crimton-Plaza Premium Group? We just mentioned partnership, right? So, leading to such impressive growth rate.
Yeah, absolutely. So, when we started working with Plaza Premium, they were just coming out of the COVID, the pandemic period, right? So I think for them, being in the travel and hospitality industry, it was a really important time for them to make sure that they were spending money in an efficient way. They're a massive brand. They've got airport lounges, across the globe. I think they're very well known in APAC, out of Hong Kong and then Singapore, where they're mainly based. But obviously, when markets were coming up and new travel routes were kind of moving across countries, they were opening lounges. And so what they wanted to do was make sure that they were putting, advertising in front of, for example, in-market travelers. So that's the data piece, people who are intending to travel in a way that was personalized to them. So, we're working in, for example, Arab-speaking countries. So you need to make sure that the language is right and it speaks to them. They have different types of people who consume their products. So it's not just, business travelers, which maybe come to mind. They have family travelers, they have, more affluent travelers, they have couples, people on honeymoons and those kinds of things. And so we really needed to make a strategy that spoke to those specific type of audiences. One of the ways we did that was through our dynamic creative solution. So dynamic creative, for those who may not know what that is essentially being able to use certain data inputs to create a creative message that is designed for a particular user, essentially on the fly. So you could have, you run different languages, 10 different languages, 10 different ad copies, 10 different ad sizes. And when you start to add all of those things up, that ends up being, 1,000, 10,000 kind of creative variations that we can build essentially on the fly.
Yeah, that's true. So, you had just emphasized the importance of tailored marketing. You guys are doing for the diverse audiences. So, can you provide some examples of how localized strategies and bespoke creatives significantly impacted a campaign's performance?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what's happened over the years, and I think particularly during the pandemic is people were consuming a lot more content online.
Yeah.
And then, if you look into the stats, you can actually see that, people's attention over time kind of has dropped, right? So it was like,
Exactly.
2000, it was
Yeah.
13 seconds, then it was 9, and now it's 8. And apparently that's less than a goldfish now, right? So
Yeah.
essentially advertisers have like 3 to 5 seconds to kind of try to grab attention of a user. And if you're not able to do that, then you're essentially wasting, your ad spend there. Um, so, for Crimtan, what we're trying to do is make sure that if there is a diverse audience, that we're using the tools that we have available in our platform to make sure, first of all, the data piece, we know who the user is, we know their persona, their intent, and their interest. And then the second piece that we're doing is making sure that the creative matches that through the dynamic creative optimization platform that I mentioned before. Um, and if you are doing those two things, you're able to get better performance. It's not really rocket science. If something kind of speaks to a particular user, then they're more likely to engage, and it's more likely to grab that attention. And I think a lot of advertisers may kind of only look at the data piece and not look at the creative, or only look at the creative and not look at the data piece. And I think when we go into these partnerships, and when we start to understand some of the pain points, and understand how advertisers operate, you know, particularly for Plaza Premium, we're able to see that, okay, they were working in one way before, and then with the evolution of the data and the creative that we've brought to the table, we've seen massive improvements for them. So, for example, it's close to 200% better in terms of performance uplift. New customer rates are up 187%, and that kind of thing. So, yeah, really, that's what we're able to do with these types of partnerships.
Yeah, amazing. So you just mentioned, you are doing very good. So you might have set up new industry standards with the partnership, right? So how do you see other companies in the airport hospitality sector adapting these strategies?
Yeah, look, I think with the hospitality airport sector that you mentioned, I think there's a whole bunch of different
Yeah.
parts to it, right? So there's airports themselves, and maybe they want people to stop over and explore the airport. I think Changi is a great example of how they appeal to that type of audience.
Yeah.
Then there's others like duty free shops. Then there's retail outlets and brands and things like that. So really that's if you try to pull all of that together into one segment, that's probably not the best way to go about it. So I would just encourage those advertisers to really look at their target audience. Maybe it is, for example, people who are booking hotels, booking airline flights. Obviously, in-market travelers is a piece of it, but then adding the attributes of their persona and interest on top of it will help make it a little bit more bespoke and niche, and speak better to that those type of audiences. So that's what we've been seeing over the time. It's just people have been able to use data more effectively, and also the creative piece as well.
Yeah, true, true. So, we are talking about the partnerships and how you have got the changes in the wild partnership, and you guys are very successful in all these things. So, I believe Crimton was founded in 2009, and Crimton has been considerable growing. And how have the challenges faced by the company shifted over the years, and how have you adapted and addressed them? You might have got a lot of challenges. How you have overcome all these challenges?
Yeah, absolutely. I think what comes to mind is, programmatic and just digital advertising in general has obviously evolved over time. I've been with the industry for about 10 years, specifically with Crimtan for about 8 years. And personally, I've seen that evolution. So when I started working at Crimtan, we only really offered display advertising. So that was one type of programmatic channel that we could advertise across. But now in, 2023, we're able to activate campaigns across video, audio, digital out of home, and even things like connected TV, CTVs, as it's known in the industry. So, that's one evolution, and I think that's going to continue over time. We're starting to see the metaverse and VR and AR and all those kinds of things. So, as those channels evolve, then those programmatic pipes will start opening up as well. So yeah, across channels, absolutely that's evolved for sure, and it's always evolving, and that's what makes it so interesting to be in this industry. The other thing that I've seen personally as well is a shift in privacy, and so we're a UK founded company, so we had to navigate the GDPR, which was essentially came into act in 2018, and really what that GDPR did for the industry was to make sure that privacy consent was at the forefront of advertising. So really what we needed to do was to make sure that any advertising that we would do was consented by the users. So essentially what it meant was if you were accessing a website, there needed to be the pop-up and say, hey, do you consent to, Crimtan using your data for relevant advertising, as an example. So we had to evolve our platform in that space. Being in the APAC region, the GDPR was obviously not a part of the Japan law or the Singapore, Hong Kong, Australia law. So they always felt it was a UK centric problem or an EU centric problem, and it wasn't our problem. But what happened kind of next was the consumer sentiment changed as well. So people wanted to make sure that when they were online that they felt protected and all those kinds of things. And that sentiment actually pushed, the tech industry to evolve as well. So brands like Apple and Google and these guys started having to come to the table to offer, changes to their technology so that, users could, feel that sense of safety. And I think Apple was a great example. They went all in on it.
Yeah.
Had those advertising campaigns around, hey, if you use an Apple product, you won't be tracked and all that kind of thing. So yeah, that's definitely the changes there. And I think the second part of your question was how did Crimtan evolve to that?
Yeah.
So we built a solution called Active ID, which is a privacy first consented advertising identifier. So making sure that we are getting that user consent before we do anything with our ads that we're putting out online.
Yeah, great. This question was in my mind, like, how do you, shape the future of programmatic advertising? So you just mentioned that, how you are planning, what you're looking for it. So moving forward, how does Crimtan's approach to DCO differ from competitors? Because I'm sure, with revolving market, there are a lot of competitors in the market. So what are the advantages does it provide for your clients?
Yeah, absolutely. I think with Crimtan's dynamic creative platform, and I'll kind of zoom out a little bit because it'll give a bit more context to what I'm about to say. But Crimtan's technology stack is built by Crimtan, and it's made up of a DMP, which is a data management platform, a DSP, which gives us the ability to buy different types of media, and then the dynamic creative optimization piece. So it's a full integrated stack. And in terms of what kind of USPs that provides is really in the sense that we can minimize what we call data leakage. So that's essentially what happens when you try to connect a DSP with a DMP and that's not integrated, and then a DMP with a DCO vendor. And when that kind of happens, you're not really able to connect things up in a succinct way and things fall out. So with the Crimtan stack, that data leakage is minimized because it's all talking together. So that's one piece. So we're getting more efficiency out of our the brands that we work with in terms of the advertising budget. A lot of other DCO vendors have templated approach to their creative. So it's more kind of maybe quantity over kind of quality. So anyone can subscribe to that. And when you do subscribe to those DCO platforms, you see kind of that look of the ads look the same for, Nike and Adidas and all these kinds of, these examples of brands, I don't know who they actually use, but a Nike ad will look the same as a Reebok ad, as the same as an Adidas ad, if they're all using that vendor. Whereas Crimtan were more bespoke and more put a lot more effort into the visualization of our dynamic creative to make sure it kind of breaks through that noise. I talked about we have 3 to 5 seconds of grabbing a user's attention, that kind of thing. So making sure that our, advertisements are engaging.
Yeah, yeah, sure. I think, the data leakage which we are talking about, this is the main pain point of all the brands out there in the market, right? And this is the problem which you're solving in a great way, because data, if you're giving the relevant data, I think the audience and the brands are sorted in that case. So, we are talking about a lot of programmatic advertising and all that. So, given the evolving landscape of programmatic advertising, what do you believe the next biggest trend of innovation will be in the coming years?
Yeah, I think, I touched on this before, but
Yes.
look, there's a lot of new channels that are up and coming. I think during the pandemic, obviously a lot of people went online. They started using, Netflix, YouTube, all of these things. You started seeing people buying the smart TVs, or essentially TVs that are connected to an internet, right? And so what's happening is that there's this new type of consumer that's has evolved off that, and they're called the cord cutters. And so the cord cutters are the people who are not using kind of traditional TVs anymore. They're only considering, only consuming more online kind of catch-up TV and
Yes.
on-demand stuff, right? So it's become fully integrated with that. So there's definitely going to be more spends across connected TV, so those CTV to tap into those cord cutters. I think the same thing goes for audio as well. So audio, people consuming podcasts and things like that. It's a great way for advertisers to tap into those cord cutters as well. There's also been a shift in, I think specifically for programmatic, a lot of vendors and players in the space are moving away from kind of what we call MFA, which is made for advertising websites, so sites that are just kind of smashed with ads essentially. So we're seeing an evolution in that, and that's maybe a shift in the market that traditionally maybe programmatic was more kind of quantity rather than quality. But I think what we're seeing in the market now is that a lot of advertisers are using programmatic for more branding type campaigns on premium environments and things like that. So that's definitely something that is a big trend for this year in particular. We're also seeing, the ability to do connected media journeys. So one single platform that connects into digital out of home or audio, CTV, video, display, native, and that kind of thing. You can start to connect up the journey through identifiers like, Active ID and things like that. And yeah, the other piece is just really the attention piece as well, just because, the attention span of humans, as we kind of discussed, is much lower now. So it's just really looking at how do we grab attention and, essentially using our tools to optimize towards attention time metrics. And that's something that's evolving. And that's something that Crimtan is very invested in, particularly in recent times as well.
True, true, George. We are talking about the attention span. We also do a lot of survey, so what we got to know is right now after COVID, you just mentioned that attention span of the audience is being very low and they cannot read full article from top till end. They are just constant, okay, slide, and done. So attention span, and you guys are doing a great job. You are covering all sort of advertising, technicalities and all the things, data leakage you are handling. So it's very much interesting to see what Crimton is doing in large, in detail. And thank you so much, Josh. I know that because you are into advertising, I'm into that. So there are a lot of things, we want to discuss furthermore. But due to time limit, thank you so much. And thank you so much for taking out your time and discussing with us in detail Crimton and the partnership you have with Plaza Premium. Any last word you want to, shout out to my audience? Any last word you want to go for it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you very much for having me today. It's been great to connect with you and talk about these things in details. I think last words is really that the space is evolving, and I would encourage the consumers and advertisers and things to consume content like obviously marketing in Asia. So it's a great source of information to keep on top of those kinds of things. And that's what I do on a day-to-day basis. So just consume as much kind of media and content across websites like yours to stay in ahead of the game to a certain extent.
Thank you so much, George. You have a great day, and let's catch up soon. Happy to help in future. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you for this time.